Welcome to Grave Endeavors, a show where I travel across the country to visit different graveyards and cemeteries to show you guys some unique gravestones and the stories that come with them. I'm at the historic Woodlawn Cemetery.
I chose this location as the first episode for several reasons. One, it's my hometown. Two, it's a beautiful freaking location. And three, I've spent more time in this cemetery than any other cemetery I've ever been to.
We used to sneak in here at night on some of our little crazy adventures.
Back before they installed a bike path, and now you can just walk in, we had to squeeze through a bend in the fence. We'd be in here drunkenly having little spooky adventures and ghost hunting. I'm not condoning sneaking into cemeteries at night, but if you're gonna do it anyway, be respectful. Woodlawn Cemetery was founded in 1876 as a way to change the way we honor our dead. Before Woodlawn, cemeteries were kind of seen as unkempt places. They were overcrowded. People just thought they were downright grody and smelly. Not very healthy for anybody who lived around them or walked through them. So they decided to change that. And with Woodlawn Cemetery, they like to put the focus on a lot of the nature here and the art. So incorporating all that into a beautiful place to celebrate and honor our loved ones who have passed on. Before this time was an era where a lot of people would just snatch up and buy up land to develop things on. And as we know, a lot of cemeteries were bought up and the bodies were removed and moved elsewhere. Unfortunately, we also know that a lot of the times they didn't move the bodies at all and they just built right on top of them. So Woodlawn was a big step away from all that, and that became the norm around the country. So when they decided, they added lakes and trees and beautiful winding paths. It just became a place that people like to come hang out. It's almost like a metro park. These things make Woodlawn Cemetery one of the most beautiful cemeteries I have ever known.
42 mausoleums within its gates that represent some of the extravagance of Toledo's wealthiest families, from the Stranahans, the Secors, the Laskys, the Burdans, and many more that helped shape Toledo. There are only 30 rural cemeteries in the nation, and Woodlawn is one of them. Like any historical location lies buried many strange and unique stories and secrets, and like any cemetery lies many unique and strange gravestones that, upon seeing, make us wonder what the story behind them really are. At such a massive place as Woodlawn, there'd be no way to uncover all the stories and secrets buried here. There are over 65,000 people interred in this place alone. So, while we can't dig up them all, we could dig up a few. Quick, don't think about it. What comes to mind when you think of pyramids? Do you got it? Some of you probably thought about cheerleading. Some of you might have thought about the food pyramid. Others might have thought about pyramid schemes, which, for the 1000th time, I am not a part of one. Joking aside, majority of people think about Egypt when they think of pyramids. That would make sense, right? After all, the pyramids of Giza are one of the great wonders of the world.
And if you ask me, they're some of the biggest gravestones in the world.
I bet you wouldn't think of a grave in a cemetery in Toledo, Ohio. Yet, that's just where you can find one. This is the gravestone of John Gunckel, and it's a marvel all its own. The pyramid itself weighs 1,000 tons and stands at 26 feet tall. It's made of approximately 10,000 or more small stones donated from all the citizens of Toledo, and all the stones are brought in from around the world. In fact, the Lloyd brothers constructed this pyramid entirely from donated items. John Gunckel was the founder of the Toledo Newsboys Association. He founded the Newsboys Association on Christmas Day in 1892. He was taking youths aged 9 to 17 off the streets and giving them food and clothing. Eventually, he began to mentor these children so they could become better people. By 1904, it became a national association with John Gunckel as the president. The Newsboys Association still provides financially disadvantaged minors help with charity, financials, food, clothing, wherever possible. He lived from 1846 to 1915. The pyramid was erected in 1917, nearly 2 years after his death. A copper plate adorns the front that reads, "There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. Toledo honors a citizen without reproach, a friend without pretense, a philanthropist without display, a Christian without hypocrisy. This monument was erected by the citizens of Toledo in a movement inaugurated by the Toledo ex-newsboys from stones contributed by the school children of the city." For many years, members placed lotus flowers at his gravesite to honor the anniversary of his death.
After bearing witness to such a marvel as the John Gunckel Pyramid, I think I need to go have a seat.
While there are many unique grave markers and monuments here at Woodlawn Cemetery that make for an excellent place to kick up your feet, none are more strange and notable than the Ludwig Easy Chair. The legend is that the chair is a tribute to Ludwig's second wife, Bessie. Supposedly, she sat up for 25 years in this chair after the death of her husband. She did this because she feared if she laid down to go to sleep, she would suffer the same fate. She would never rise again. So she spent 25 years in this chair. This monument is an exact replica of the chair she sat in. Her husband was Leroy McIntyre Ludwig, who went to bed one night and woke up dead. And while that legend seems interesting right off the get, it just simply isn't true. It's actually in dedication to his first wife, Samantha, who came down with an extended illness and was bound to this chair for the rest of her life. Leroy Ludwig was an oil tycoon who made his riches in Ohio and West Virginia. He moved his family to Toledo in 1893. Unfortunately, he didn't just lose Samantha in 1899, he also lost his son. So after she had passed away, her family shipped her chair off to Vermont to have a replica carved out of stone and shipped back to Toledo. The monument was inspired by the Albert Memorial in London. It sits at 57 feet high, the highest in all of Woodlawn Cemetery. It weighs approximately 185 tons. You may notice that the design holds some signs of modesty from the Victorian times. Bottom of the chair, you'll see there are several bristles and frays that are hanging there. That's because Victorians thought that it was very modest to keep your legs covered. And that included chairs and table legs as well. So the chair here is a representation of a loved one's favorite chair. Chairs aren't exactly unique in cemeteries either. In fact, an empty chair represents the loss of a loved one. It was originally planned to put an effigy carved into stone of Samantha sitting in the chair, just like the Albert Monument. But the family decided that was a little bit too personal and decided to leave the effigy out, which left just the empty chair to represent Samantha's life. So let me ask you, have you seen the movie Titanic? Most people have. That tragic love story that never happened, surrounded by tragic deaths that actually did. How many of you have seen old footage of the maiden voyage of Titanic? Many of you have it burned in your memory. Some of you might remember it faintly. If you're remembering it, then let's take a look at this. This is the footage you're probably thinking of. After all, it is at the beginning of the movie Titanic, seeing all those people on deck waving goodbye to everyone on land as they set sail off into history to become one of the most tragic disasters at sea of all time. You may have also seen this footage. Many people believe this is the maiden voyage of Titanic caught on film. Except that it isn't. It isn't footage from the Titanic at all. What was once believed to be actual footage of the Titanic maiden voyage is actually footage of her sister ship, the Olympic, on her maiden voyage. No actual footage of the Titanic maiden voyage exists, but it did at one point. There is in fact only one piece of real footage that has the Titanic in it at all. It's footage of the Titanic sitting in port at Belfast, preparing for its journey to Southampton. There's no actual footage of the Titanic in service. So you would think that one of the most famous ships of all time would have footage of its maiden voyage, right? So what does this seemingly mundane grave marker actually have to do with all that? This is the final resting place of William H. Harbeck. William was born in September of 1868 and passed away at the age of 43 on April 15, 1912, a victim of the Titanic disaster. William was the 35th body recovered from the Titanic. William was a famed cinematographer, and can you guess what his final job was? You guessed it. He was hired to film the maiden voyage of the Titanic. Learning of this grave blew my mind. I've been here countless times, and I've never even heard of this gravestone being here. I've never even heard of William. And finding out that someone from my hometown was actually hired to film one of the greatest ships of all time blew my mind. It was after I dove into my research into William that I learned of his time on Titanic and
the dark secret he carried to his grave.
Or so he thought. It was his death that actually revealed his dark secret. We'll come back to that shortly. William was known for filming the first footage of the Great Earthquake of San Francisco in 1906. He filmed life in Vancouver in 1907. His films of cowboys and rodeos were shown as far away as Paris and Moscow. He was also the first person to ever film the Alaskan wilderness. And yet he was tasked completing footage of Titanic's maiden voyage.
It would be the last thing he ever did.
Witnesses placed him at filming the departure of Titanic from portside. He was seen by survivors filming on the deck, turning the crank of his camera furiously as the Titanic nearly collided with another steamship, the New York, a moment recorded in history and very famous in the history of the Titanic. He wrote a friend stating that the plan was to transfer to a tugboat as Titanic arrived in the port of New York. He would then film Titanic arriving from the port itself. We unfortunately know that Titanic never arrived in New York and William never got that shot. 1,153 souls were lost that night, including William Harbeck. William Harbeck's body was recovered, but his films were not. So everything he filmed for the maiden voyage of Titanic went down with the ship. It was upon discovering William's body that some of the secrets he kept in life came to light. He was found clutching the purse of Henriette Yavois, a 24-year-old French model. who was seen by witnesses and survivors as being by his side the entire time he was on Titanic, though he was married to a woman named Catherine. In fact, when Catherine arrived to claim the body of William, she was nearly turned away as authorities told her Mr. Harbeck drowned with his wife. After putting up a bit of a fight, she was able to collect his body and belongings and bring him back to Toledo to be interred. The mystery doesn't actually stop there. A few weeks after his body was brought back to Toledo, a woman named Brownie Harbeck from Seattle reached out to inquire about William's belongings. There were letters exchanged that ended up reaching William's son, who, rightfully so, got pretty angry. No one ever found out who Brownie was, though theorized that she was either a business partner of some sort, cause she claimed to know the model that he was traveling with as well, or another wife that no one knew about. William took both his films and his secrets to the grave. And I'm only left asking myself one question. Who the fuck is Brownie Harbeck? Besides these amazingly interesting stories, Woodlawn Cemetery is also known as one of, if not the most haunted cemetery in all of Toledo, Ohio. And there's only one way to test that.
I'm here with Sam and Jeff from our team, the Vision 3 AM. That's us. That's us. You know?
Did you know?
We're just gonna see if we could speak to any of the spirits from any of the gravestones we visited today. We don't recommend sneaking in here to ghost hunt at night, but as I said before, if you're gonna do it, be respectful.
And is it really breaking in when they don't put fences up and they have a bike trail that goes right into a park?
You are the ones who have to find out. It's still within the hours for us.
Yeah. So we're good. We're good.
Good job, give it a try.
To be honest, I haven't gotten good since I put it on.
You gotta take this so I can not get eaten by mosquitoes.
I'll do this.
I've only got a little bit of skin.
I'll do this.
I've only got a little bit of skin.
A victim of Titanic that we visited earlier today to film something else. We just haven't started the actual session yet.
William Harbeck, are you with us here tonight?
Pretty sure we just heard that bat eat one of the bugs.
I hope that was a bug, because it was big and it felt like it pushed the back of my neck.
William, are you able to tell us anything about your time spent on the Titanic?
William, who was Brownie?
Or do you see the camera and you're messing with it because it's something you're familiar with?
Yeah, William, this is what cameras look like now. You can actually fit a camera in your pocket.
Yeah, like this.
You want to cue up the ghost box?
Why is it Titanic music?
That was
That was
the Titanic music.
I just opened TikTok.
That was My Heart Will Go On.
What the Wow.
Okay.
I thought you did that on purpose for
I
a
did
second.
too.
I was like, she's been waiting for this.
Nope, I didn't.
Hello?
Hello.
And when I die, I'll personally message you and tell you where you can come leave me coffee. Because I love coffee. Alright?
Spawn into your coffee love.
Open up the floor then. Let's open up this pit. Are there any other spirits here with us right now?
What's your name? We're actually gonna go visit 2 more locations in the cemetery here. You wanna meet us there? Sound like it said me. Yeah, you can meet us there.
Me too.
Do you know where the pyramid is?
You need to ask your son about it. He knows a lot.
Oh. Say Tina.
Yeah,
I don't know what that
Said
said.
Tina.
Are you just mimicking me?
Gary.
Yep.
Not much more happened at the William Harbeck grave, and we were running out of time, so we decided to take our trip over to the John Gunckel Pyramid.
We're out here at the pyramid right now. We're gonna do a quick session. Reminds me, get the whole picture. John Gunckel, are you here?
Hello, Spider.
What about Alice?
Moving.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was fast. Whatever it was fast. It started here and like in a second went all the way around us.
Yeah. So any of the Gunckel family, are you here? Pizza.
So I heard pizza too. I'm not seeing a pizza Gunckel.
Do you want a pizza?
Who doesn't like pizza? What was John's wife's name?
Thanks again for the badge. Say Gunckel? I'm addressing any spirit that wants to talk.
Behind you. Dude, I was just gonna say I feel like someone's behind me.
Is there a mic here?
Yes.
Mike, what is your last name?
Maybe she was right on that then.
Did you touch Sam's leg?
Gary,
I heard that.
in your voice.
Sarah, we're at Woodlawn Cemetery in Toledo.
We thank you for speaking with us. And we just want to say good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Those are just 3 interesting gravestones and their stories that reside here within the gates of Woodlawn Cemetery. I'm sure there are many more, but it would take me a lifetime to dig all those up. For now, let's just look to the future as we visit more graveyards and cemeteries across the country. I'm Scary Gary, and this is Grave Endeavors. Let's go see what else we can dig up.
Her husband was...
It was so good.
Yeah, and
You were on a roll.
This is the gravestone of John Gunckel. And woke up dead. Can you wake up dead? I don't think that's possible, but he did it. It weighs approximately 185 tons. We're gonna check that right now.
Yep, can't move it.
It weighs that much. Cemetery that make for an excellent place to kick up your feet. None are more fuck!